What is the price of peace? In a galaxy filled with war and brutal conspiracies, humanity has proven that, though we come from a planet no one knew, we are not weak. We are warriors forged in the fires of trials, and now we stand firm against the attack of the most powerful forces in the universe. When the Luminar system was threatened by the Vex Collective, relentless invaders with no mercy, Earth did not stand idle. Humanity's 7th Fleet, with superior strength and sophisticated strategy, launched the decisive attack to reclaim freedom for innocent lives and protect what must be protected. But can humanity maintain peace in a galaxy drowning in chaos? Click subscribe and like the video so you don't miss our journey through a war full of tension and irreversible decisions. Follow the story of humanity's powerful rise as they face the Vex and the challenging mind games in the battle for survival. And now, let's begin with the first part of this legendary journey. Ambassador Tella stood before the emergency transmitter, her blue skin pale from exhaustion. Outside the communication center, the distant sounds of explosions rattled the walls of the building. The capital city of Luminar, once a place of soaring crystal towers and floating gardens, now burned under the relentless attack of the Vex Collective. The smell of smoke and the sound of crumbling structures lingered in the air. "Is it ready?" Tella asked, her four-colored eyes blinking rapidly with worry as she glanced at the technician. The technician, a tall being with silver-white skin and emotionless eyes, nodded. "Yes, Ambassador. The signal will reach Earth in approximately 6 hours. If they respond immediately, help could arrive in 2 weeks." "If they respond," muttered Captain Noir, the head of the Luminar Defense Force. "That may be too late." "We've only known humanity for 3 standard years," he continued. "Their representatives have been friendly, but they've never committed to military support." Tella adjusted her ceremonial robes, now torn and stained with ash. The finely crafted cloaks, symbols of respect in Luminar culture, looked tattered. "They are our only hope. The Assembly has abandoned us." The technician began activating the recorder, and a small light blinked green. This recorder was typically only used in the most urgent of circumstances. Tella took a deep breath, her gaze sweeping over the display screen. "People of Earth, I am Ambassador Tella of the Luminar Confederation. Our worlds are under attack by the Vex Collective. 3 of our 5 planets have fallen. Millions are dead. The Galactic Assembly refuses to intervene. We implore you to help us in this dark hour." Her voice cracked slightly as she paused to gather herself. "We beg for your assistance." The message was sent, speeding through the stars, heading toward a small blue planet that most of the galaxy considered insignificant. Flashes of light flickered on the screen, and a soft ding rang out when the system notified that the signal had been successfully transmitted. 1 day later, on Earth, at a security facility deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a dark and damp control room, a communications officer sat upright, his eyes wide in surprise. "Sir, there's a priority message from the Luminar system." He quickly stood and turned toward the control desk, where Colonel Reed, the head of Earth's military forces, was waiting. Reed was a tall man with dark skin and striking silver hair at his temples. He had a stern appearance, but his eyes held a sharp and focused intensity. "Play it," Reed commanded. The room fell silent, save for the hum of machinery, as Ambassador Tella's message filled the air. Once the recording ended, Reed turned back to his subordinate. Though he did not show emotion, his eyes betrayed a hint of concern. "Contact the President and the National Security Council. Then prepare the 7th Fleet for immediate deployment," Reed ordered. Commander Wilson, standing next to Reed, could not hide his surprise. "The 7th Fleet, sir? That's our most powerful military force. The Galactic Assembly doesn't even know it exists." "And that's exactly why we keep it secret," Reed replied. "Prepare the diplomatic cover story. We'll report that we're sending humanitarian aid and evacuation ships." Wilson nodded and turned to carry out the order, but then he paused, looking back at Reed with concern. "Sir, if I may ask, why reveal our military strength now?" Luminar is our ally, but they're not an official member of our alliance. Reed's eyes grew cold and stern. Because, Commander, we cannot stand by and watch innocent people die when we have the ability to help. And if the Vex succeed with Luminar, who do you think they'll target next? At a deep underground security base in the Rocky Mountains, Earth's military officers worked tirelessly to prepare for a rapid response to Luminar's distress call. The atmosphere in the room was tense, filled with anticipation, and the dim light from advanced technological devices flickered. Orders had been issued, but no one could predict the gravity of the situation. The communications officer, a young man, sat upright, his hand gripping the controller tightly as he monitored the signals on the screen in front of him. Suddenly, he heard the alert for a priority message, and he quickly pressed the activation button. Earth had just received the distress signal from Luminar. Under the flickering lights, the officer immediately reported, "Sir, there's a priority message from the Luminar system," he reported in a worried tone. "Play it back," Colonel Reed ordered, his voice already tense, showing special concern. Reed, a tall man with dark skin and piercing decisive eyes, quickly walked toward the control desk. As Ambassador Tella's message echoed in the room, everyone present listened intently. All other sounds seemed to fade as Tella's voice, filled with desperation but also resilience, came through the speakers. When the message ended, the room fell into a heavy silence. Everyone in the room understood the severity of the situation, and they all knew that immediate action was inevitable. "Contact the President and the National Security Council. We must act now," Reed ordered, his voice cold and resolute. There was no time for debate. Decisions had to be made in the next few minutes. Commander Wilson, standing beside Reed, looked at him with surprise. "Sir, are we sure about this? Luminar is our ally, but not an official member. Could this action lead to unforeseen consequences?" Reed didn't respond immediately. He looked at the screen, where a map of the galaxy appeared, showing the trajectory and position of the Luminar system. He knew that Earth had only recently joined the galactic community, and actions like this would certainly draw the attention of other species. However, Reed knew that humanity's actions at this moment would determine the survival of countless innocent lives. "We can't stand by while a good species like Luminar is destroyed. If we don't intervene, Vex won't stop here. They will keep expanding, and they may even threaten us later. Don't forget, if we don't help Luminar, others will see us as weak and indecisive." A heavy silence filled the command room. Each person in the room understood that they were standing at a crossroads in humanity's history. Reed stared directly at Wilson, his gaze unwavering. "Prepare the 7th Fleet. We will not let this devastation happen without doing something. What can the Galactic Assembly do? Only we can act in time." Wilson, after a brief pause, nodded in agreement. He could see the determination in Reed's eyes and knew it was time for humanity to fight to protect innocent lives. While other officers began preparing communication systems and fueling the warships, Reed returned to the control desk, checking Earth's strategic position in the Luminar system. The warships were hidden in shipyards on Jupiter, away from the prying eyes of alien forces. Earth didn't want to reveal its military power too soon, but now they had no choice. "Ready, sir," the tactical officer reported, looking at the screen tracking the warship's preparations. Reed nodded, his eyes showing no sign of fatigue despite the mounting tension. "Report to the President and the National Security Council that we're proceeding with the plan. We're going there, and we will help Luminar." With Earth's warships equipped with the latest weapons and powerful shield systems, Reed knew they were ready to face whatever awaited them in space. Humanity had kept its strength hidden for too long. Now, they would fight not only to protect innocent species, but also to prove that humanity was not to be seen as weak in the eyes of other species. "Set course," Reed said, his eyes still fixed on the warships that were now fully prepared. Humanity's fleet would jump through space in a matter of minutes, facing a fierce battle like never before. In the dark and cold expanse of the Galactic Assembly, representatives from over 200 species gathered to discuss the Luminar crisis. The vast hall, once filled with the hum of diplomatic discourse, now echoed with heated debates. The military intervention order from Earth had sparked a wave of opposition, especially from neutral species or those with strong neutrality policies, such as the Jor. The Assembly's chairman, an ancient being with skin as dry as bark, stood and raised a hand to call for silence. We will not allow a large-scale war to erupt among the species. The Vex Collective is infamous for its brutality and territorial expansion. However, Earth's military intervention could disrupt the delicate balance within the Assembly. Under the dim light of the chamber, the Jor representative, a gigantic insectoid creature, stepped forward, towering above the others. He began to speak in a low, resonant voice that echoed throughout the hall. "Our position is clear," he stated. "The conflict between the Luminar Confederation and the Vex Collective is a regional dispute. We will strive to provide diplomatic solutions and humanitarian corridors, but any external military intervention will violate our neutrality principles. If Earth does not cease immediately, we will demand punishment for this intervention." The words of the Jor representative silenced many in the room, some nodding in agreement, others looking uneasy. However, this did not sway Ambassador Thomas's decision. Thomas, a small but resolute man, stood up. For the past 3 years, he had worked hard to portray humanity as scholars of peace, but now, faced with the destruction of Luminar, he could not remain passive. "We humans respect the principles of the Galactic Assembly, but we cannot stand by while an innocent species is destroyed without doing anything," he declared, his voice calm but resolute. "We will send rescue ships, evacuating the people of Luminar from danger. However, if the Vex continue their invasion, we will not sit idly by. We will protect innocent lives." The room fell silent. Other representatives looked around at each other, none daring to speak, but this did not alter Thomas's resolve. "We will do this in the way we believe is right, and if you wish to stop us, we will confront you," he continued, his voice unwavering. The representatives from other species exchanged glances, but none responded to Thomas's words. Eventually, the light of agreement in the room began to dim, as everyone realized that, though none wished for it, this conflict was unavoidable. After receiving the message from Luminar and understanding the gravity of the situation, Earth no longer had time to hesitate. The decision had been made, and immediately, preparations for military action began. Colonel Reed, the commander of Earth's military forces, had no choice but to deploy the 7th Fleet, the most powerful military force on Earth. A fleet the Galactic Assembly was unaware of. This would be the moment humanity revealed its true strength to the entire galaxy. In the shipyards located beneath the radiation belt of Jupiter, the vast space was filled with enormous warships being assembled and equipped with weapons. These ships were designed with technology Earth had kept hidden for the past 3 years. The warships were not just transport vehicles. They were tools of war with superior power, entirely different from anything the galaxy had ever witnessed. The warships, particularly the EDF Leviathan, the flagship, were being prepared for the most important campaign in human history. The ship, nearly a kilometer long, was equipped with the most advanced weaponry and shield systems never before seen. Every detail of the ship was meticulously checked, from the control systems to the weaponry, all prepared to face the Vex forces. Admiral Reed stood on the command bridge of the Leviathan, looking out through the thick glass windows, observing the remaining warships as they completed their final preparations. Although he maintained his cold and resolute demeanor, inside, he couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. This would be humanity's first large-scale war beyond Earth, and in such a conflict, there were no guarantees of victory. However, one thing Reed was certain of: they would not stand by while innocent lives were being ravaged without taking action. "Report the status of the ships," Reed requested, his gaze fixed on the large display screen on the command bridge. The tactical officer standing next to him quickly glanced at the screen and responded, "All ships have completed their preparations, sir. The weapon systems are fully equipped, and the shields are at maximum. The fleet is ready for the space jump." Reed nodded. "Good. Contact the President and the National Security Council. Confirm all the details and prepare the next steps. Once we begin, there's no turning back." The communications officer immediately carried out the order. Meanwhile, Reed continued to review intelligence data from the warships, past missions Earth had undertaken, and all the events that had led to this point. For the past 3 years, they had kept their military strength hidden, sending only diplomatic missions and research teams. But now, with the urgency of the situation, humanity could no longer conceal its strength. They had to act, and they had to act decisively. Reed turned back to face his senior officers, the chosen leaders of the 7th Fleet for this operation. "You've seen everything that needs to be seen," he began, his voice filled with resolve. "We cannot abandon innocent lives, and we cannot let the Vex continue their invasion of the galaxy without stopping them. This is no longer just about Luminar. It's about the future of all of us. We cannot remain at peace while this invader still exists." The officers nodded in agreement, their unity clear. They understood that Earth was not just standing up for one species, but for the entire galactic community. This intervention would have far-reaching consequences and could change the fate of the entire universe. Reed took a deep breath. He knew that humanity was stepping onto a path from which there would be no return. This war would decide not only the survival of Luminar, but humanity's place within the galactic community. And he also knew that, as humanity's representative, he and his fleet would be the ones to determine the survival of many civilizations. "All ships are ready. Reorganize the formations. We will jump through space in 30 minutes, Reed commanded, his voice unwavering. Each officer quickly followed Reed's orders. The warships rumbled as they moved into position, while systems on board were activated and prepared for the impending battle. The 7th Fleet would not only be warriors, they would be Luminar's hope, and perhaps the hope of the entire galaxy. As the warships made their final preparations, Reed looked once more out into space, where the stars twinkled brightly, eerily calm as though nothing had changed. But in his heart, he knew a great turning point was near. Humanity would not stand by and watch the enemy destroy what they had built. A great battle was about to begin, and all humanity could do was prepare as thoroughly as possible. Earth's 7th Fleet was ready. In the control rooms, officers continued to complete the final checks, ensuring every ship was prepared for the arduous journey ahead. Time was running out. Colonel Reed stood on the command bridge of the EDF Leviathan, gripping the armrest, his eyes never leaving the screen as he monitored every movement of the ships in the fleet. "Prepare for space jump," Reed ordered. His voice echoed through the room, causing the space to seem to freeze. The communication officers quickly went to work, issuing final instructions, double-checking parameters, and ensuring everything was set. Under the dim glow of the screens, Reed saw Earth's warships forming into a solid formation. They were not just a military force, but a symbol of determination. Faced with the powerful enemy like the Vex, humanity could not step back. If they did not act now, Luminar would fall. And if humanity didn't help, the Vex would continue expanding their influence across the galaxy, threatening the survival of all vulnerable species. Reed stood still, his heart pounding. They were facing an unprecedented challenge. Humanity's 7th Fleet, with its advanced warships, would not only face the Vex military, but would also fight to prove that humanity was not just a species from an unknown planet. They were here to fight, and they would not lose. "We will follow the plan, nothing changes," Reed continued, his voice resolute. "Those who stay will stand strong. Those who fight will protect innocent lives." Meanwhile, on the other warships, officers and soldiers were focused on their tasks. Earth's warriors, though they had never fought outside their planet, had prepared their whole lives to face invaders like the Vex. Their sophisticated tactics, their combat experience, all stemmed from a civilization forged in the harshest environments on Earth. The space jump system was ready. The warship simultaneously activated, preparing to jump through space to the Luminar system. A few seconds later, blinding light flashed, and the entire fleet disappeared into space, racing toward their target. In space, a violent shockwave rippled through the void. When humanity's warships appeared, they created a majestic sight. They were no longer the small, weak ships in the eyes of other species. Now, they were true warriors, ready to fight any enemy that dared challenge their survival. On the Vex flagship, Overlord Kra continued to monitor the situation on his screen. His fleet was pressing forward with their assault on Luminar's planets, slowly decimating major cities. But he had not noticed the preparations made by humanity. He could not know that Earth was not the weak species he had believed. Kra stood up when he saw an unusual signal appear on the screen. A human warship was entering the Luminar system. He scoffed, thinking it was just a rescue ship. Humans, those weak creatures, what are they doing here? Kra laughed loudly, his voice sharp. They don't understand our true power. They'll soon find out, but perhaps it'll be too late. However, when the next intelligence update came through, the truth began to reveal itself. The Vex sensor systems detected multiple Earth warships hidden in space. 12 massive Earth warships, with superior size and combat capabilities, were entering the battlefield. These were not rescue ships. This was a formidable fleet, ready to fight. Kra stared at the screen, unable to believe his eyes. This cannot be. How could humans build such a powerful fleet without any of us noticing? He wondered, his initial confidence slowly fading. Reed, standing on the command bridge of the Leviathan, remained unfazed. "We didn't come here just to fight," he said, his eyes cold and sharp. "We're here to end this war. Ships, initiate the attack." Immediately, Earth's fleet launched their assault. Humanity's giant warships moved at light speed, charging into the Vex formation. Earth's energy cannons fired powerful beams of light, piercing through the Vex's defenses. The Vex army was caught off guard and wiped out before they could react, overwhelmed by the superior strength of Earth's warships. Kra, struggling to reorganize his forces, had to face a painful truth. Humanity was not just a weak species, but a race of warriors from a death world, where they had learned to fight for survival. And now, they were prepared to fight for the survival of innocent lives. With every passing minute, the complete reversal of the battle became clearer than ever. The Vex were not only facing a powerful military force, but also a species forged through thousands of years of hardship. Humanity, once underestimated, had proven that they were not easy to defeat. The battle between Earth's fleet and the Vex raged fiercely across the skies of the Luminar system. From the command bridge of the EDF Leviathan, Colonel Reed watched the conflict with unwavering determination. While Earth's warships were showcasing overwhelming strength, he knew this was just the beginning of a long and challenging war. Humanity's massive ships, equipped with advanced technology and powerful weapons, relentlessly assaulted the Vex forces, leaving the enemy no time to react. Energy cannons, mounted on the largest of Earth's warships, unleashed powerful beams that cut through the Vex's shield barriers, obliterating their ships instantly. Each Earth warship, moving with precision and strategic grace, was like a pack of wolves hunting their prey, giving the Vex no opportunity to recover. On the tactical display of the Leviathan's command bridge, numbers continuously dropped as Vex ships were destroyed. The Vex formation began to falter. They could not comprehend how humanity was able to fight so skillfully and powerfully when all they knew about Earth was that it was an insignificant planet. Kra, the overlord of the Vex, stood on the command bridge of his flagship, staring in shock at the screen. He couldn't believe what was happening. The mighty and formidable Vex army was now being pushed back mercilessly. Humanity's ships moved as one, executing complex attack strategies, not allowing the Vex a chance to regroup. He couldn't understand why the humans, creatures from a weak world that had never fought in galactic warfare, could possess such overwhelming power. "We cannot lose," Kra growled, his fist tightening. "All warships, concentrate fire on the Leviathan. Destroy it before we lose everything." Kra issued his orders frantically. He knew that if they didn't defeat the Leviathan, the entire campaign would fail. The Vex fleet, massive in size, quickly formed a concentrated attack formation, targeting humanity's flagship. On the Leviathan, Reed stood firm on the command bridge, his gaze steady and unflinching. He knew this was the critical moment. Humanity had concealed their military power for so long, but now they had no choice but to reveal it to the entire galaxy. The Seventh Fleet, with its 12 massive warships, had become an unstoppable force. They were not just fighting to protect Luminar, but to protect themselves and to assert humanity's position in the galaxy. "Hold the formation," Reed commanded. "We will not let them divide us. They want to strike at our weakness, but we will not let them succeed." The officers on the command bridge swiftly relayed the orders, and humanity's warships quickly evaded incoming fire and created strong defensive zones. The energy cannons fired again, sending powerful beams of light that illuminated the void, tearing through the Vex ships with devastating force. With every passing minute, the situation became clearer. The Vex fleet, though numerous, lacked the ability to coordinate effectively and was being overwhelmed by humanity's superior organization and flexibility. Kra, witnessing his ships being defeated one by one, began to feel a fear he had never known before. "Our capabilities have been underestimated. The destruction of our warships is clear evidence of this," Kra admitted, his voice tinged with hesitation. "But it's too early to give up." However, just as he ordered his fleet to continue the attack, a barrage of fire from the Leviathan and supporting Earth warships swept through, disrupting the Vex assault formation. The Vex warships began to fall into chaos. Some ships, unable to maneuver in time, were completely destroyed, while the remaining vessels gradually retreated in the face of the overwhelming onslaught. Kra understood that it was time to take more drastic action. He ordered all firepower to concentrate on the Leviathan and humanity's flagship warships. All his hopes rested on this final attack. But Reed, with unnerving calm, showed no fear. He watched the screens coolly. Humanity was ready to face whatever challenges came their way, and they had proven their strength not just by defeating the enemy, but by maintaining superior tactics and cohesion. "Do not let us falter. All ships, hold the formation and continue the assault. Ensure we don't give an inch," Reed commanded, his voice unwavering. In that moment, Earth's warships continued their perfect encirclement strategy. The Vex could not hold up against the overwhelming might and strategic coordination of humanity. The battle was nearing its end. Humanity was not only winning, but they were also asserting their power to the entire galaxy. And for Kra, he realized that even the mightiest warriors could fail when faced with a species forged in the fires of war and survival. The battle in the Luminar system had reached its defining moment. Humanity's warships, with superior tactics and overwhelming power, continued to push back the Vex forces, creating a clear outcome. The Vex were not just losing, they were facing annihilation. While Earth's fleet continued to dominate the battlefield, Colonel Reed remained calm, his eyes fixed on the command screen, tracking every move of the ships. The battle had evolved beyond a simple military confrontation. It had become a strategic mind game between Reed and Kra. the overlord of the Vex. As Earth's fleet launched relentless attacks, Reed knew that the Vex would not surrender easily. Kra, a ruthless leader, had proven his wisdom and capability in commanding his forces. But in this final moment, Kra would have to face a truth he could not change. Humanity was too strong and too clever to be defeated. Reed knew that Earth's fleet could not continue its relentless attack forever. They needed a decisive blow, a strategy that would leave Kra and the Vex commanders with no hope of regrouping. This war was not just about defeating the Vex, but about protecting innocent lives and solidifying Earth's position within the galactic community. Reed took a deep breath and turned to Commander Wilson, standing next to him. "We need to end this battle now. Prepare Operation Shadowfall." Wilson looked at Reed seriously, fully understanding that this meant Earth could never turn back after this decision. "Sir, are we deploying the Special Forces?" "Yes. We will not just fight in space anymore. It's time to bring the war to the heart of Luminar. We need to strike at the Vex Command Center, cut off their resources, and break their will," Reed answered, his tone resolute. Shadowfall was a bold but highly risky strategy. Earth's special forces would be deployed to the occupied planets, taking key Vex facilities and eliminating any remaining forces. The ultimate goal was to strike the Vex Command Center and eliminate their ability to reorganize. For humanity, this was the necessary step to secure a complete victory. The decisive attack. As Earth's fleet continued their assault in space, the warships maintained tight formations, demonstrating unwavering determination and resolve. The Leviathan, Earth's flagship, continued to unleash its powerful energy cannons, ripping through the Vex ships. Each blast sent shockwaves through space, obliterating Vex vessels and throwing their formation into disarray. Earth knew this was their final chance to defeat the Vex once and for all. The special forces had been deployed, and humanity's elite warriors were prepared to engage directly with the Vex on the surface of Luminar Prime. As the special forces set foot on Luminar Prime, they faced a brutal battle, no less fierce than their space conflict. Earth's warriors, though unfamiliar with the terrain of Luminar, quickly secured key positions, moving with flexibility and combat skills that no enemy could match. One Special Forces team, under Captain Bell's command, approached the main Vex control station, while another team worked to secure the area and rescue Luminar hostages. Despite intense combat, Bell and her team moved like shadows, completing their mission without leaving a trace, eliminating all remaining Vex forces in the base. In contrast to the Vex, Earth soldiers fought not only with strength, but with finesse and sophisticated tactics. Earth's special forces continued to destroy Vex command centers on the ground, gaining control of vital cities and rescuing thousands of Luminar civilians held captive. Continuous reports were sent to the Leviathan, where Reed continued to command the fleet. The victories of the special forces not only helped protect Luminar, but also shattered the morale of the Vex, as they realized that not only were their armies being defeated, but their command structure was being obliterated. Kra faces defeat. As the battle on the ground raged on, Kra stood in the command room of his flagship, staring blankly at the screen. His entire strategy had fallen apart. He could not believe that a species he had considered weak could deploy such a rapid and effective attack. He ordered a retreat, but as the Vex began to withdraw, they realized a terrifying truth. Humanity was not only attacking fiercely, but they were also fighting with intelligence and superior organization. "We can't let these warriors defeat us," Kra growled, but no matter what orders he gave, he could not reverse the truth. Vex ships began to disintegrate under the relentless attacks of Earth's warships. Earth's fleet not only destroyed the Vex warships, but also began deploying intricate encirclement tactics, leaving the Vex with no escape. The importance of the battle. The war in Luminar was nearing its conclusion. Earth's special forces, with perfect coordination, had nearly wiped out the entire Vex army on the planets of Luminar. Colonel Reed knew it was time to end the war, but he also understood that this victory was not just a military triumph. It was a powerful statement that humanity was ready to become the protectors of innocent lives across the galaxy. "We have won," Reed said, his voice full of resolve but also tinged with a sense of reflection. "But this victory is not just because we have a powerful military. It is proof that humanity will never stand idly by when innocent lives are threatened." After the brutal war in the Luminar system, humanity had secured a decisive victory. Earth's 7th Fleet, under the command of Colonel Reed, had completely destroyed the Vex invasion forces. Special forces, led by Captain Bell, had taken out Vex command bases, rescued thousands of Luminar civilians, and completely severed the Vex military's ability to reorganize. The fall of the Vex was inevitable, but the real shift lay in the transformation of the galactic community. Humanity had not only won a war, they had proven that they could protect innocent lives, shield vulnerable planets from the brutal attacks of merciless invaders. In the eyes of other species, humanity had completely transformed its image. Once seen as weak and vulnerable, now they were brave warriors, ready to rise and defend the lives of the defenseless without hesitation. The crucial assembly meeting. Just 1 week after the victory, the Galactic Assembly called for a special meeting. For the first time in centuries, representatives from over 300 species gathered to discuss the events that had unfolded in the Luminar system and humanity's impact on the galactic community. In the vast chamber of the Assembly, Elder Morrow, the head of the Galactic Council, began the meeting with a resonant voice. "We have witnessed the end of one of the most brutal invasions the galaxy has ever known. The Vex, who have caused untold suffering and devastation to weaker planets, are now completely defeated. This was made possible by the strength and courage of humanity." All eyes turned toward Ambassador Thomas, Earth's representative in the Assembly. Despite being smaller in stature compared to many of the other representatives, his eyes were filled with confidence and resolve. Earth was no longer a weak species in the eyes of the galaxy. They had proven they could stand up, defend themselves, and protect the innocent. "Humanity did not just fight to protect Luminar," Thomas began, his voice calm yet firm. "We fought to protect all innocent lives in the galaxy. We did not act for our own greatness, but for the survival of those weaker than ourselves. That is why we stood up." A heavy silence fell over the room, and all the representatives from other species looked at Thomas with open respect. They had once thought of humanity as weak, too fragile to stand against greater powers. But now they had to acknowledge that humanity was far stronger than they had ever imagined. Accepting peace. When the meeting concluded, recognition from other species was inevitable. Earth had not only won the war, but had also captured the hearts of many species, including some of the most powerful in the galaxy. Peace had been established, and Earth was officially recognized as a powerful member of the galactic community. For the first time, the Galactic Assembly officially acknowledged Earth as a species with the right to defend itself and intervene in the affairs of weaker species when necessary. An official document was passed, establishing a protective relationship between Earth and Luminar. Earth was no longer just a trade partner. It had become a strong ally, a defender of the galaxy. In a separate conference room, Ambassador Thomas received an unexpected notification. "Sir, we have just received 3 official requests from other species in the galaxy. They are requesting Earth to provide the same protection as with Luminar. They want to sign protective agreements." Thomas was slightly surprised. "Which species?" he asked. "They are the Vex Confederation, the Iridian Worlds, and the Novan Republic. All of them are bordering systems with powerful invading forces," the officer replied. Thomas looked over the records. A simultaneous protection request from 3 different systems. This is unprecedented in the history of the Galactic Assembly. The significance of the decision. The recognition from other species not only granted Earth power but also posed a challenge. Earth could no longer keep its military strength hidden. These protective relationships were not just military strategies, but opportunities for Earth to build a peaceful future for the galaxy, where weaker species no longer had to live in fear. In the stillness of space, the President of Earth, standing on the Unity space station, gazed out through the large window where Earth's new warships were being constructed. Can we maintain this peace? She wondered, contemplating the decisions that lay ahead. Admiral Jackson, standing beside the President, watched the screens where the warships were being outfitted. Rest assured, Madam President, we've won once, and we will continue to protect innocent lives in the galaxy. The President nodded, her gaze firmer than ever before. Begin drafting those agreements. Earth will officially accept these protection requests and send notifications to the Galactic Assembly. A new era has B.R.O.